Hello viewers. In this video, we will explore the top dictators who have shaped our world, for better or worse. From Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime to Ivan the Terrible. Let's start. Adolf Hitler, the Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945, is infamous for his role in World War II and the Holocaust. Hitler rose to power through the Nazi Party, promoting a nationalist and anti-Semitic agenda that led to the systematic genocide of millions of Jews and other minority groups. His totalitarian regime enforced strict control over all aspects of German society, censoring dissent and instilling fear. The invasion of Poland in 1939 marked the beginning of World War II, a devastating conflict that would claim millions of lives and reshape the geopolitical landscape. Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies ultimately led to his downfall, as the Allied forces, led by the United States, Soviet Union, and Great Britain, pushed back against the Axis powers. The fall of Berlin in 1945 signaled the end of the Nazi regime and marked a turning point in European history. Despite the horrors perpetrated under his rule, Hitler's impact on history cannot be denied. The lessons learned from the atrocities of the Holocaust serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and totalitarianism. The legacy of Adolf Hitler continues to haunt the collective memory of humanity, underscoring the importance of vigilance against tyranny and discrimination. Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union from the mid-1920s until his death in 1953, implemented policies that transformed the country into a totalitarian state. Stalin's rule was characterized by widespread repression, political purges, and forced collectivization, resulting in the deaths of millions of Soviet citizens. His cult of personality and iron-fisted control over the Communist Party solidified his grip on power. The Great Purge of the late 1930s saw Stalin targeting perceived enemies of the state, including party members, intellectuals, and military officials, in a campaign of terror and violence. The forced labor camps, known as the Gulag system, became synonymous with the brutal suppression of dissent and the violation of human rights. Stalin's policies of industrialization and militarization propelled the Soviet Union into a global superpower, albeit at a tremendous human cost. Stalin's role in defeating Nazi Germany during World War II solidified his image as a strong and capable leader, despite the atrocities committed under his regime. The post-war era saw the Soviet Union emerge as a formidable rival to the United States in the Cold War, leading to decades of ideological and military confrontation. Stalin's legacy remains a contentious issue, with some viewing him as a necessary force for Soviet advancement and others condemning him as a ruthless dictator responsible for untold suffering. Mao Zedong, the founding father of the People's Republic of China, is best known for his role in the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward. Mao's vision of a socialist society led to radical policies aimed at transforming China into a communist utopia. The Great Leap Forward, launched in 1958, sought to rapidly industrialize the country through collectivization and forced labor, resulting in widespread famine and economic collapse. The Cultural Revolution, initiated in 1966, aimed to purge Chinese society of capitalist and traditional elements through mass mobilization and violent repression. The Red Guards, composed of radical youth, carried out attacks on intellectuals, cultural artifacts, and political dissidents in a campaign of ideological purity. The chaos and violence that ensued during this period left a deep scar on Chinese society, with millions suffering persecution and death. Despite the human cost of his policies, Mao's legacy as a revolutionary leader endures in China. His image remains a potent symbol of communist ideology and national unity, with the ruling Communist Party of China continuing to uphold his legacy while acknowledging the mistakes of his rule. The complex legacy of Mao Zedong reflects the ongoing struggle to reconcile China's revolutionary past with its modern aspirations. Benito Mussolini, the founder of Italian fascism and dictator of Italy from 1922 to 1943, played a pivotal role in the rise of totalitarian regimes in Europe. Mussolini's fascist ideology emphasized nationalism, militarism, and authoritarianism, seeking to revive the glory of the Roman Empire. His regime enforced strict censorship, centralized control, and suppression of political opposition. The alliance between Mussolini's Italy and Nazi Germany under Hitler's rule solidified the Axis powers during World War II, leading to Italy's eventual defeat and Mussolini's downfall. His aggressive expansionist policies in Africa and the Balkans further destabilized the region, contributing to the broader conflict in Europe. The fall of Mussolini's regime in 1943 marked the end of fascist rule in Italy. Mussolini's legacy as a dictator continues to be a subject of debate, with some viewing him as a visionary leader who modernized Italy and others condemning him as a ruthless autocrat who led the country to ruin. The echoes of Italian fascism can still be felt in contemporary politics, underscoring the enduring impact of Mussolini's regime on Italian society and culture. Kim Jong, the supreme leader of North Korea from 1994 to 2011, continued his father Kim Sung's legacy of oppressive rule and cult of personality. Kim Jong's regime maintained strict control over all aspects of North Korean society, employing propaganda, censorship, and surveillance to suppress dissent and maintain loyalty to the ruling Kim dynasty. The country's isolation from the international community deepened under his rule. The famine of the 1990s, exacerbated by economic mismanagement and the regime's prioritization of military spending, resulted in widespread starvation and suffering among the North Korean population. Despite the dire humanitarian crisis, Kim Jong maintained his grip on power through a combination of coercion and propaganda, projecting an image of strength and invincibility to both domestic and foreign audiences. Kim Jong's death in 2011 marked a transition of power to his son, Kim Jong, who continues the oppressive legacy of the Kim dynasty in North Korea. The human rights abuses, political repression, and nuclear brinkmanship that have defined North Korea's regime under the Kim family persist to this day, drawing condemnation from the international community and raising concerns about the welfare of the North Korean people. Fidel Castro, the revolutionary leader of Cuba from 1959 until his retirement in 2008, played a central role in the overthrow of the Batista regime and the establishment of a socialist state in Cuba. Castro's Marxist-Leninist ideology and anti-imperialist stance positioned Cuba as a beacon of revolutionary socialism in the Western Hemisphere, challenging U.S. hegemony in the region. The nationalization of industries, agrarian reform, and emphasis on healthcare and education marked Castro's domestic policies, resulting in significant improvements in social welfare indicators for the Cuban population. However, Castro's regime also faced criticism for its suppression of political dissent, censorship of the media, and restrictions on individual freedoms. The U.S. embargo and Cold War tensions further isolated Cuba from the international community. Castro's legacy as a revolutionary leader and socialist icon continues to resonate in Cuba and beyond, with his defiance of U.S. imperialism and commitment to social justice inspiring leftist movements around the world. The normalization of relations between Cuba and the United States in recent years has raised questions about the future of Cuba's socialist experiment and the enduring impact of Castro's revolution on the island nation. Idi Amin, the president of Uganda from 1971 to 1979, ruled with an iron fist, instilling fear and terror throughout the country. Amin's regime was characterized by widespread human rights abuses, political repression, and ethnic violence, leading to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Ugandans. His erratic behavior, military incompetence, and brutal tactics earned him a reputation as one of Africa's most notorious dictators. The expulsion of Asian Ugandans in 1972 and the persecution of political opponents further destabilized the country and contributed to its economic decline. Amin's support for terrorist groups and military adventurism in the region further isolated Uganda from the international community, leading to diplomatic isolation and economic sanctions. The Tanzanian invasion in 1979 eventually led to Amin's ouster and exile. Idi Amin's legacy as a dictator is one of brutality and chaos, with his rule leaving a deep scar on Ugandan society that persists to this day. The scars of his regime continue to linger in Uganda, with the country grappling with the legacy of violence and repression that characterized Amin's rule. The search for justice and reconciliation in Uganda remains an ongoing challenge as the country seeks to heal from the wounds of its traumatic past. Genghis Khan, the founder of the Mongol Empire in the 13th century, is renowned for his military conquests and brutal tactics that reshaped the course of history. Khan's empire, stretching from Asia to Europe, was built on a foundation of fear, violence, and subjugation, as he waged campaigns of conquest that resulted in the deaths of millions. His legacy as a military genius and ruthless leader endures in the annals of history. The Mongol Empire's expansion under Genghis Khan and his descendants brought about cultural exchange, economic prosperity, and technological advancements, transforming the Eurasian continent. However, the empire's legacy of destruction, pillage, and massacre also left a trail of devastation in its wake, as cities were razed and populations decimated in the name of conquest. The Mongol Empire's legacy continues to be a subject of debate among historians and scholars. Genghis Khan's impact on history is undeniable, as his empire shaped the geopolitical landscape of Eurasia and left a lasting imprint on the regions it conquered. The legacy of Genghis Khan as a conqueror and statesman remains a complex and controversial subject, with some viewing him as a unifier of diverse cultures and others condemning him as a ruthless tyrant who brought untold suffering to millions. The enduring legacy of Genghis Khan underscores the complexities of power, conquest, and historical memory. Ivan IV, also known as Ivan the Terrible, was the first Tsar of Russia who ruled for nearly 37 years. He ascended to power at the age of 3 following his father's sudden passing and established the Chosen Councils with a group of reformers. By the age of 16, Ivan had taken control and transformed Moscow into the primary state and administrative center, consolidating a significant amount of power to expand Moscow into an empire. Ivan was infamous for his harshness, particularly in his execution of perceived enemies, such as the devastating burning of Novgorod that resulted in the deaths of 12,000 people. His cruel methods included torturing and burning opponents at the stake or boiling them alive. Historians estimate that Ivan was responsible for over 60,000 murders, not accounting for the countless individuals who were tortured, mutilated, or displaced under his reign. When factoring in these additional victims, the number of casualties potentially reaches into the hundreds of thousands, solidifying Ivan as one of the most brutal dictators in history.